Russian communication. How do they communicate? Russians are known for being very direct with their communication, very abrupt. Russians speak quite matter-of-factly. They're generally very comfortable with directness. For example, they may not hesitate to correct you and deliver criticism honestly. Although they may soften their tone when speaking about sensitive topics, they usually speak to the point and keep their words concise. They may come off as being blunt to those who don't understand the culture, which I can relate to because my father-in-law is straight from Russia, and he is very blunt when he talks about anything ever, which to me, becoming a part of the family was hard to get used to at the beginning, but now I find it very entertaining and quite interesting to listen to. Russian humor is sometimes very sarcastic, dry, and it's often self-deprecating. And swearing is very common within the Russian culture and language. They will swear in casual situations quite often, which has become fairly normal for North American society as well. Now, when it comes to nonverbal, the Russian culture tend to stand close to one another when they are speaking to each other. To reach out and touch another person while being in conversation with them is a sign of confidence in the relationship. Friends may hug and kiss on the cheeks when greeting, and strong general affection is generally only seen between couples of opposite genders. So when it comes to expressions, Russians, specifically men, usually have a very serious front to strangers that softens usually once they build familiarity with those people. If you've ever seen a Russian in a movie, I feel like movies definitely play on this cultural behavior, but it is really a part of the culture as well to have that very tough look on the exterior. Although Russians are known to be very animated with friends, smiles are not generally exchanged between strangers on the streets like they would be here in North America. There seems to be this old idea within the culture that if you just smile at anyone for no reason, you're just a simpleton. Whether that is politically correct, I'm not going to go into that, but that's what they believe. When it comes to blessing, it is traditional for Orthodox Christians to make the sign of the cross. This is a Russian Orthodox silent prayer to bless oneself throughout the day. The Russian language is the principal and cultural language of Russia, and the majority of people within Russia speak Russian. It is also used as a second language in other former republics of the Soviet Union. And the Russian belongs to the eastern branch of the Slavic family of languages. There are over 100 minority languages within Russia. Now I'd like to speak a little bit to Russian funerals and death ceremonies, burials. Now this is very interesting because the Russian culture has a lot of superstitions about how people die, and these superstitions have endured through the centuries and are quite strong to this day. According to Russian tradition, people can die in two ways, good or bad. For Russian families, a good death is one that comes naturally at the end of one's life. A good death is any death that is planned by God, such as an elderly person passing away in their sleep. On the other hand, a bad death is when a loved one passes away unexpectedly before their time. Accidents and terminal illnesses are typical examples of a bad death. Once a person dies, Russian traditions state that that person's soul will linger for up to 40 additional days on Earth. For those who have suffered from a bad death, the soul is stuck on a mortal plane for even longer. After a death occurs in a family, people will cover their mirrors and stop the clocks in the home, which I found was quite interesting. Russian folklore stipulates that mirrors are the gateway to the land of the dead. And according to superstition, the first person to see their reflection in a mirror after a person has died will be the next person to die. Family members also stop the clocks, assist the loved one's soul to move on quicker into the afterlife. Traditional Russian funeral services end up having the deceased placed in a coffin where mourners will actually prepare the deceased for the other world by placing anything that that person would need in their afterlife. And since the Russian Orthodox Church is the biggest self-governing Orthodox Church, it is very highly respected within Russia, since a very large population of Russians identify as Russian Orthodox. Within this faith, they are very strict when it comes to burying their dead and avoiding alternate methods of dealing with this deceased, such as cremation. The Orthodox Church forbids cremation.
Hi, my name is Lena, and I will be talking about the Russian healthcare system. The low standards of practice in the Russian healthcare system are partially due to supply shortages and primary care not being available. Facilities in Moscow and St. Petersburg have higher practice standards, but they do not accept all cases and require payments for access and services. In 2018, the overall death rate in Russia was 12 deaths per 1,000 people, whereas Canada had 8 deaths per 1,000 people. Mortality rates are linked to cardiovascular disease, which has the highest death rates of Europe. Some causes for this is due to the development of socioeconomic and geographical areas, and late referrals to doctors of serious conditions. Infant deaths in Russia was ranked at 18 deaths per 1,000 births a year. 10 years later, death rates dropped to 6, which is more than 50%, compared to Canada with only 4 deaths per every 1,000 births in 2018. This shows that health standards for new mothers and their babies has greatly improved. This means there is more access to prenatal care, nutrition, food security, and creates an overall healthier population. Life expectancy and health determinants. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Russian Longitudinal Monitoring Survey of the Higher School of Economics found great improvement of health in the working men and women of Russia. People have more good quality years and live longer, healthier lives, which has led to an increase in the retirement age. The healthy life expectancy in Russian culture has increased in the past 20 years, but continues to remain low. A factor related to the mortality problems are tense demographic areas. More young people are moving to cities, leaving a large share of elderly population in rural areas where there is little access to medical facilities and quality care. If access to healthcare and standards of living were increased, the death rates would likely decrease. This has a negative impact on the elderly population of rural Russia. Spiritual values and practices. Russia has several religions that include Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhist, Sunni Islam, Protestant, and Orthodox Christianity. Orthodox Christianity has the largest representation of the population, and Protestant is the second largest, with up to 3,500 denominations. Islamic is the second largest religion, with practitioners mostly located in the cities of Moscow and St. Petersburg. Orthodox Christmas and Easter are the major holidays celebrated. Orthodox Christmas falls on January 7th and is celebrated in a 12-day period. The celebrations begin on December 31st and last until January 8th to include New Year's. Family and friends celebrate Jesus' birth, fortunes are told, gifts exchanged, and extravagant feasts of food and drinks are prepared. Russians are also big believers of superstitions, and they get passed along from generation to generation. Superstitious beliefs are thought to affect many areas of life, from marriage to wealth, bringing good or bad luck. For example, during a wedding ceremony, the couple holds 2 candles together, and whoever flame goes out first is believed will be outlived by the other. Or if it rains during a wedding ceremony, it's good luck and the couple will get rich.
Hi everyone, my name is Calvin. I'm one of the presenters for our group today, which is the culture of Russia. I would like to get your attention as I will discuss 2 of my topics, which are risk health behaviors and nutrition practices in Russia. So first of all, let's define risk behaviors. So risk behaviors, these are the behaviors that impacts our health in a negative way. So for example, smoking, alcohol abuse, substance abuse, or risky, unsafe sexual behaviors. So now that we have an idea what risk behaviors are, let's go through the risk behaviors that impacts the health of Russian culture. So the increasing concerns in high-risk region in Russia is mainly because of their increased rate of HIV transmission that caused by the injection drug users and being unsafe with their sexual intercourse. But there's also a study found that alcohol use is also associated with these behaviors. So according to the study I found on the National Center for Biotechnology Information, high-risk settings in Russia has the fastest growing HIV epidemics in the world, and Russia has the most or increased rate of alcohol consumption per capita in the world. So based on this study, Russian Federation based or featured alcohol being linked to their transmission of HIV as a result of the increased rate of their total deaths. So with that being said, excessive use of alcohol affects individuals' behave and the way they think. So this will lead in an appropriate action that put themselves in getting infected with HIV. So, for example, being unsafe during sexual intercourse. Excuse me. And according to the researchers who studied this issue in Russia, they suggested that to make a change for this problem, Russia has to or needs to start advocating a screening or HIV programming, such as alcohol-related sexual risk reduction intervention that targets the user. So this will provide guiding and gainful and resourceful approach in reducing HIV transmission. All right, so on the different note, I would like to illustrate to you how Russian culture get their nutrition from their classic meals. So nutrition, these are the nutrients that we get from the food or drinks we take. And similarly to every other countries, we all have our meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So a typical Russian breakfast always start with chai or tea in English and coffee. They also have what you call kefir, a fermented milk drink with sour taste in it that is made using a cultured yeast and bacteria. They commonly eat kasha or porridge that is made with different grains, along with sandwiches with butter and cheese, and their sausage called kalbasa that is made with ground meats. And every weekend they always enjoy jam and pancakes with either boiled or fried eggs with the meal. So let's go through their two courses during lunch. So first course would be soup, and then the second course, which is the main course, that consists with meat, potatoes, porridge, and pasta. They also have this favorite delicious bread called chorny yep, and every time they eat it, they always say "Eta ochin kusna," means it's very tasty. And I like to try this boiled fruit they call kompot. So it's different kind of fruit boiled with hot water. And last but not the least, dinner. So every dinner, Russian families gather all together to enjoy their meals, such as salad, and then their main hot dish would be potatoes, meat, or fish. And after dinner, they have either tea, pie, cake for dessert as well. All right, so that would be all from me today, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. Bye.
Presentation, I'll be covering family roles in organization and pregnancy and childbearing practices in Russia. Let's get started with family roles. It is common in the Russian culture to get married and start a family between the ages of 18 and 22. The meaning of family is very important to an individual in the Russian culture. Russian families are quite large and interdependent and all share close relationship with one another. Since family plays an important part in the Russian culture, they cherish their family and are always ready to help each other out in difficult times. Russian family includes nuclear family, being the parents and the children, immediate family, being the aunts and the uncles, the brother and the sisters, and the nieces and the nephews, and extended family being the grandparents. They all come together as one to help the nuclear family. Traditionally, there would be 3 generations living under one roof, but in present day, the nuclear family has become more common in Russian cultures. Most young married couples want an apartment of their own and away from their parents, but because of housing shortage and the high cost of new housing, they must live with their parents, which can be quite crowded and hectic. Grandparents are well respected in society and generally holds the most authority in the household. They are very involved with their children's lives and help support the household. They play a huge role in raising children and may perhaps even live with the nuclear family. Russian value showing respect for their elders. Their children are expected to show respect for their parents and care for them as they grow older. It is common that if one grandparent passes away, they usually move in the household of one of their children's. In the Russian household, both parents usually work. Since both parents are usually working, the grandparent assists with taking care of the kids. Traditionally, men are the breadwinner of the family. They are the head of the household. They provide, protect, and often make the ultimate decision for every member of that household. While women play the part of the nurturer and homemaker in the family, they are expected to do housework and take care of herself, the children, and her husband. More and more women are becoming career-orientated and are employed outside of the house, turning away from the traditional role of homemaker, but are still responsible for household and child-rearing practices. Now, let's talk about pregnancy and childbearing practices in Russia. One of the major maternal health challenges in Russia includes the rate of sexually transmitted infection such as HIV and AIDS has increased over the years, which causes a decrease in fertility rate in Russia. The current birth rate in Russia is 11.6 births per 1,000 people, and current fertility rate is 1.8 birth per woman. Back in the day, self-measure is a traditional cultural practice in pregnant women to promote the health and well-being of the unborn child. Traditionally, only the mother and the village midwives are present during the birth of a child. Russian Orthodox incantation is recited by the midwife during labor. It is believed that no man, including the father of the child, or unmarried or childless woman were permitted to be part of the birthing process. The woman is considered unclean and vulnerable for the first 40 days unless being blessed by the priest. The midwife participates in the christening ceremony with the godparents. In Russia today, active labor happens in hospital. Some are public and others are private. Public health insurance system in Russia covers most of the costs associated with childbirth, but most avoid the public health care system because it tends to be mainly in the city and they are often overcrowded. Prenatal care includes antenatal appointments with a family doctor, scans, tests, checks, and antenatal classes. During all the visits, your health, blood pressure, weight, urine, and baby's heart rate and growth will be checked. Looking into a doula can be beneficial during your pregnancy. They will be able to help you with the birth plan and other aspects of the pregnancy. In every culture, there is beliefs and practices that influence childbearing women. In Russia, it is believed that a pregnant woman is not to speak too optimistically about pregnancy outcomes. Before the baby is born, baby showers and other celebrations are not allowed with the cultural Russian view of pregnancy. During the first month, the newborn baby is not to be taken out in public and visitors are discouraged. Family celebrations are held 40 days after the baby comes home. Birth advances should be written and given to the hospital before the baby's arrival. It is common for fathers not to be present at the birth of their child unless stated in the birth plan. This normally causes extras for parents. Therefore, some women choose alternative choices such as home births. After childbirth, mother and baby stays in the maternity ward for at least 3 days. Fathers wait a few days before seeing their partner and newborn baby. But recently, they have increased the family wards for fathers to stay with their partner and baby. Postnatal care is important for mother and babies. Vaccinations will be given to babies at the time of birth to protect against several diseases. Breastfeeding is common in Russia. Maternity leaves for working mothers are 140 days. Women will receive 100% of their wage. Maternity and child benefits in Russia are covered by the state's social insurance fund. However, in Russia, there's no rules or laws guaranteeing paternity leave. Fathers sacrifice their entire salary during this time that they're not present from work.